Hi everyone, welcome to this Design and Burnout video. So this was the presentation that I prepared for the community session on ADP list, and I decided to record it more in better quality to share with you all the things that we discussed during this lecture, so I hope this will be very useful for you. So let's talk about design and burnout, but before, I usually like to start all of my lectures with a couple words about myself. My name is Yulia, or you can call me Julia, and I work as product designer for more than 6 years now. Of course, it wasn't all the product design. I started just with design and then slightly worked my way towards interfaces. I absolutely like talking about product development, how we may make better products, talk to users, etc. And of course, about the designer life. This lecture is specifically about us designers, being humans, and what we can do to have better work environment for ourselves. For this session goals, I identified these 3 top key moments are check the burnout signs and stages, because I do believe we can identify the burnout slightly earlier than the burnout itself. Also, what we can do with it, and then of course get to know the human in you, because we are definitely just like all similar and together, sometimes working with this problem. What is the burnout? We definitely need to start somewhere, right? To start talking about this and what we can do. And I would like for us to start with the meme. Come on, inner peace, I don't have all day. Usually when I talk to designers, I hear a lot that I don't have time for burnout. I don't have money for burnout, because it means that you will have to make drastic changes in your life. Sometimes it could even mean taking vacation or even switching workplace. And I do agree, it requires a lot of time, and sometimes we just don't have this possibility, and we still have to work, and you open your laptop and you're saying, come on, inner peace, I don't have all day. And it's terrible, the situation we live in right now, that we are so prone to this work environment, yet we don't have enough resources to take care of ourselves. But what the burnout is. Burnout is a form of exhaustion caused by constantly feeling swamped. It's a result of excessive and prolonged emotional, physical, and mental stress. I highlighted excessive and prolonged just in terms that it's a long process, and it means that we may start to recognize signs slightly earlier or slightly later within this long way of getting to this stage, but nevertheless, it's something that we may start learning about ourselves with our own journey of this uneventful situation in life. There are different types of burnout, and I have found 3 main, in my opinion. The first one is frenetic. So it's for individuals who may have very high work ethic. For them, working, it's like a matter of self-assessment, self-prestige, and they usually tend to work and then get a burnout. But they do it just because they do think that being super productive, even workaholic, is something that you have looking forward to. The second type is under challenged. So if you've ever been on a project that you just don't see a lot of opportunities for you to grow, you may get tired and bored, maybe you do too much repetitive work, you may actually get tired of all of that. And the third one, I think it's something more usual. What we think about the burnout is it's the worn out. It's just you work, and with time you start to have so much negative feelings that you just reach this point of exhaustion that you cannot work anymore, and it builds over time as any type, but due to negative feelings. So this is what usually we think of burnout, is this like worn out type. What we can do with it, right? What is a silver lining to all of us? We absolutely can do something with that. And I give here 4 the steps that I have identified in my life. And of course, we will talk about every of this step later down the presentation. The first one, recognizing the burnout. Second, accepting the burnout. Third, learning the causation. And fourth, planning next steps. Let's talk about recognizing the burnout. If we go back to our definition, it's a result of excessive and prolonged stress on emotional, physical, and mental levels. Here we will talk right now about the stages of the burnout. So the first is you cannot stop working. I am so productive. And it could be different reasons why you cannot stop working. Maybe because you have such an interesting project that you just don't want to stop. Or maybe you have this very high work ethic and you think that you need to work a lot and you can't stop working. Or maybe it's actually because of the deadlines. Maybe right now the situation at your workplace is so stressful that you just cannot physically, close the laptop and you just cannot stop working because you need to deliver. So it could be any reason, but the main line is that you cannot stop working. The second stage, it's things outside work get too much. Because work right now starts to take so much time and energy of your life, you may start seeing that, well, you still can perform the same level as the first step, but you already start noticing that other sections, like sectors, things in your life, you just don't kind of have enough time or energy for it. Maybe things get a little bit more complex, but you already start noticing some of the things. The third stage is where you will have visible decline in your performance. You cannot bring things at the same quality and pace as you did in previous two steps, and you start to noticing the buildup of different negative emotions and feelings, exhaustion. Fourth stage is the burnout itself. And I like this quote: problems at work begin to consume you to the point where you obsess over them. Usually it's because you are much slower at work or much less productive because of the exhaustion, and you notice it. You realize that you don't want to get fired or something, and you just try to take this last points of like elixir of strength in you just to perform at work, but the rest of life is kind of left unseen. And the fifth stage is the chronic burnout. It's something that you never got out your first burnout. Maybe you got slightly better, but now you're just in this constant cycle of being exhausted, not wanting to read anything regarding things you do. You don't want to watch anything, and maybe not only regarding the work, but just in general. You just feel life is kind of gray, kind of tasteless. So absolute worst thing to be at. Now I want to talk when the burnout could be combined with different things, such as depression, anxiety disorder, just anxiety, low self-esteem, self-doubt, you name it. Here's like a great example because it's one of my personal examples. Sometimes I have like a huge self-doubt. You can also call it definitely imposter syndrome, but this is how it works for me. First stage, I cannot stop working because I need to be productive, because somehow I think that I don't deliver enough. Somehow I'm so stressed that they will notice that I cannot do things, so I need to work much more. Then second stage, right? Things outside work get too much. I realize that my symptoms of self-doubt even worse. I may sacrifice some of the things that bring me joy just to be working slightly longer because again, I think that I need to perform much more, that I'm doing it right now. And the third stage is just, okay, pure emotional dysregulation. I already see that I cannot stand work. Every time when I open my eyes to start a new day, I'm dreading the start of the work day, etc. And when the work ends, I don't feel any resolution. Even if I try to relax, I already cannot relax. I'm just in this stage where things are too much. And the fourth one, I call it here still burnout because I almost cannot function. I may cry too much in between meetings. I may cry when I do my work. For me personally, it's like these crying symptoms. I'm just constantly crying. So it's like the burnout for me personally. This is how it usually looks like, at least like in this shorter cycle I show you here right now. And then I recognize it. I'm saying, damn, it's not good, right? It's not good what I'm doing here. So I may take actual care for me, like for a short period of time. I may take a couple of days of vacation. I may like make some changes at work. And then if I have this self-doubt again, I may be like, hey, now when I vacation so much, people will notice that I'm not working and now I have to be so productive, which is absolutely not a healthy cycle. It's definitely a short cycle. It gets to be repeated. I would say that right now I'm much better with this because I tried to catch it, especially on the stage number 1. Because why I'm having these thoughts about myself? Why do I think I'm not performing? Can I gather a feedback from people? I never hear from people that I have to perform more. Why do I have the thought, right? So it's a great point for me to start just catching the things. And also that I cannot physically close laptop during the evening after work, and I notice it and I close it. but it took me definitely a couple of years to be at this stage. So please don't feel ashamed if you notice yourself right now, or you have ever been maybe on stage 4 or even 5. It's absolutely fine. I wish we would be told more about the things about the mental and physical health and these symptoms, and that constantly overworking is actually isn't the great idea, because we've seen this from this first type of burnout, that even if you have like high work ethic, even if you enjoy your work so much, you are still need to take care of yourself both mentally and physically, and work cannot provide you that all the time. So it's still important. So please don't feel ashamed. We are all been there. This is the point of this presentation, is to learn the science, what you can do with yourself earlier. Maybe with every next burnout, you will start noticing things earlier. But I also want to share some of the symptoms that you may be seeing in yourself on these 3 levels, like physical, emotional, and behavioral. Again, we are all very unique people and unique bodies and unique brains. So you may have slightly different cycles, you may have slightly different symptoms, and it's absolutely up to you to, gather your own formula and your own bucket of red flags that you may start noticing in yourself. But physical symptoms, right? Feeling tired, having difficulty sleeping, changing appetite, dealing with headaches or muscle pain. Then emotional, feelings of self-doubt. And you can see, right, how, like, if we go back to this example, how it could be this vicious cycle. You are having self-doubt, you getting burnt out, and then it can produce self-doubt, right? Sometimes things could be very trickily connected to each other. Feelings of failure or loneliness. And on behavioral level, you may start noticing in yourself tendency to social isolation, not performing your responsibilities at work, even work-related anger outbursts. Second stage, accepting the burnouts. By acceptance here, I absolutely don't mean approval or agreement. Acceptance just means not denying. I took this concept from dialectical behavioral therapy because they have skill called radical acceptance, which just means accepting things as they are. It's like basically validating that you have the burnout, and it's sometimes or usually is associated with feelings of sadness and pain, because you do need to recognize, damn, I got burnout, and not shaming yourself. How did I not notice this earlier? Or why I'm like that? No, it's not acceptance. Acceptance is like, I have this. And it's not shameful, or it's not bad, it's not good. You don't agree like, oh my god, I'm praising my state of exhaustion. It's just, it is what it is, right? I have this. It's the first step, and it's very complex. But also what acceptance isn't. It is what it is. Oh, okay, I have it, and then you go and change nothing. Acceptance is one of the most complex skills, because first of all, not to shame yourself, and second of all, because it means that you will require this time and energy that you need to give yourself in order to feel better. And right, it sounds ridiculous. You're already exhausted. And now when you see that you're exhausted, you need to invest in yourself even more energy, because you need to get out of this state. But the thing would be is that you will have to start cutting the work into the proper amount to free a little bit of energy that you usually spend on work to start investing in yourself. I also want to think about this whole phenomena. Completely and totally accepting this fact is still challenging and painful. But focusing on what we can control versus what we cannot can be liberating, right? It's not your fault you got to this state. It can happen to all of us. Right now we happen, I believe, not in the easiest times for all of us regarding like workaholism and capitalism. So you are just one of us, right? We are all one of you. It's liberating to understand that, okay, now it's just up to me to take care of myself, because this world wasn't designed to be too comfortable for us. It frees up all the energy we were using to fight reality and helps us to use it to focus on how we can effectively cope with the situation and take care of ourselves. You see that we will have to not fight reality, not saying, hey, I don't have time for this, like your lecture burnout, I don't have time, I cannot cut off my work hours. But the problem is, eventually you will have to. It's just a matter of time. You cannot overspend yourself to the eternity. It will sooner or later be visible and you will feel it and it may get worse. So it's just a matter of time when you will actually promise yourself, okay, right now I do require time. Right now I do require my own energy. And it's incredible thing you can choose to be with yourself, to be very kind with yourself. The third one is learning the causation. I want to share this very short, but to my opinion, very extensive list from the Midwestern about the common causes of burnout. First, lack of adequate social support. It means both outside the work and inside the work. Inside the work, maybe you don't have very supportive manager, or maybe you have like a very complex colleagues, you share designs with them and they are just being very critical. It may start to get in on you. It's totally normal. Social support, both at work and outside work, is very important. The second, taking on more than one can handle at work, school, or interpersonally with family and friends. It could be to various reasons. Maybe because you've been told to, hey, can you support us here? Can you do that? And maybe you are afraid to say no. Maybe you are in this weird position where you actually can't say no. Maybe you have this high work ethic. Maybe you have low self-esteem. Doesn't matter, but you definitely take on more than you can handle. And again, various reasons. The third one, poor self-care. It could be at the result and at the causation, but protecting yourself, protecting your boundaries, protecting your emotional and physical state. It's one of the greatest things you can invest and do with yourself. So sometimes when you want to level up your design career, the best example actually would be close any design book and just go and walk and take vacation and just do nothing. It sometimes could be the greatest advice. Fourth is the result of too much stress. The burnout and stress, they are slightly different, but definitely stress is highly connected to burnout and vice versa. I'm quoting from the incredible article on LinkedIn by Sonia McDonald about the difference between stress and burnout. So stress is a response to a perceived threat, and burnout is a state of physical, emotional, and mental exhaustion caused by prolonged or excessive stress. I have a great example from my experience. I pretty recently got a message from my manager where he said that one of my colleagues in my line management, they've been not performing well. And of course it meant that I need to, do something with it, but I got immediately so stressed. I was like, what if I'm not performing well, right? I know it's not very logical, but this is what happened. And during this day, I was like working excessively. And then when it was like evening, I recognized my first stage and closed the laptop and said to myself, you're working good enough, but you need right now to stop. So it was this like very short-term response to a perceived threat. It wasn't real in my case, but still, right, I reacted to it. And if I wouldn't stop, if I wouldn't catch it, and it happened to me definitely before, I would start this not very cute cycle. And if you have the stress for a very prolonged time, it can lead to a burnout. So if you don't have like a very good team, if you don't have very good project, maybe your client is weird, maybe something else, maybe you're constantly underpaid, it can definitely lead to this final stage. While some stress can be beneficial, chronic stress can lead to burnout. Burnout is more than just being stressed out, it's a state of complete exhaustion. While you have like from 0 to 30% out of 100 level of stress, it can actually be beneficial because your body accumulates and very concentrates into delivering and meeting the goal that you have right now. But when it's more, it may start having an effect on your performance. So, a little bit of stress could be useful, but stress on higher levels can already disrupt your managing things and delivering things. And when it gets a lot and constant, you know what happens. The fourth one, planning next steps. And the fourth step is planning next steps. We'll start right now if you find yourself at the burnout stage 4 or chronic burnout stage 5. First thing first, you take care of that. You do not work with things outside of that. You take care of yourself here and now. So if it gets so bad, getting help from licensed mental health professional. They may be able to assist you in making the necessary changes to overcome burnout and develop strategies to avoid it in the future. Taking care of yourself first. And sometimes when things are even harder, or maybe you have like a very sensitive nervous system. You also may need help of accompanying with some of the medication. It also could be an option because first we take care of this very exhaustive thing in your life. But if you're already done this or you are not at this stage yet, what you can do? Less working hours, vacation, or stopping working after work. Again, I do understand how hard it is, and maybe you don't have these options. I do understand this. But again, it's a game of time. You will eventually have to do this. If you plan right now, here I'm working for this next 6 months, because I know that it's not, sustainable, and I will change my job because I'm already looking for a new job. It's a one scenario. But if you're being on this stage at this place and you're just saying, hey, there's nothing I can change and I cannot stop working, again, it's a game of time, unfortunately. So stopping working, maybe even, talking to your manager and saying, hey, can we cut my work at least 1 hour per day? I know it will be slightly lower paycheck. Things you will pay right now may be slightly cheaper if you get to the stage 4 and 5, to be honest. So it's like investment. Second, self-care. I personally don't have a habit of self-care. I've never been taught to this. It took me a couple of years of psychotherapy to start learning how important it is. And since I don't have this habit, I just start to plan it and put it into a calendar, adding it to the task list, whatever it takes for me just, to go see this movie or to go to this cafe or just to plan this vacation or plan this day off, whatever it takes for me to just actually do that. 3, minimizing or cutting yes to everything. Know your limitations. I get it. I like to work too. I like things I do and I want to try so many things at once, but if you want this game to be longer, you need to be more smart with your power and strengths and energy you have right now. We are here for the long run, not for the short and brave run. It doesn't mean you have to be like this no person. Maybe just have it spread in time. Or maybe actually cut off things you don't like whatever it takes for you to just actually balance things. Because if you said yes to too many things, now you have these deadlines, how can you stop working? Because you have to deliver. Cutting unnecessary things could be a very important step. And the fourth, working on causes. Maybe you have to do job changes, relationship changes. Maybe sometimes it could be talking to your manager and they will recognize it and you will talk about this. Maybe it will be switching from one project to another, from one company to another. It could be various things, but you require effort and time, and you require making sometimes complex decisions because you are worth it. And now the last little part about getting to know the human in you, as I promised at the beginning of this lecture, usually are much more similar to each other than we have been ever told. From the statistics from the everyonesocial.com, I found this one 5 cool things that I want to share with you today. 75% of workers have experienced burnout. Just think about it. 3/4. It's definitely not just your problem, right? With 40% saying they have experienced burnout specifically during the pandemic. It's, I think, because pandemic was very stressful outside the work, and also we've been working from home. And personally, when I started working from home back in the day, I was like, how do they know I work, right? I got used to so much controlling that now when I was working from home, I was so worried that they will think I'm not working. It took me quite a time to adapt. But 75% of workers have experienced burnout. It only means we need to talk about this more and more, about the science and stages. And this was one of my reasons to create this lecture. When we have more of this knowledge, we can protect ourselves better. 36% of employees said their organization isn't doing anything to help with the employee burnout. Again, it's only telling how complex right now the work environment. There is so much competition and so much things you need to always achieve and perform. And yet at the same time, while you try to give your best organization, it could be just not the best organization to work in general. So it also can happen. Burnout employees are 63% more likely to take a sick day and 2.6 times as likely to be actively seeking a different job. As you can see, your body is also smart. It recognizes I'm getting exhausted. It may make you actually to take the sick day just because things get in too much. And actually, it's a very good idea, to be honest, sometimes to take sick days just because you are exhausted. I wish we would have more in our culture taking sick days, not only because of the physical problems, but like the general problems, like mental and exhaustion, because mental health is the physical health. It's like all connected. I wish we wouldn't separate it as much, so that taking sick days because of the health, it's good enough reason. 21% of workers say that they were able to have open, productive conversations with HR about solutions to their burnout. I just want to give this little hope that 21% of people said that when they tried to have these conversations, it actually turned out good. Maybe this will be your case. Definitely risk it, try it. And if you will see that no, they aren't supporting, then you will know this information already and you will be able to plan better next steps. 56% of people went so far as to say that their HR departments did not encourage conversations about burnout. I'm glad that we have a conversation about the burnout right now. Important point is that please take care of yourself because everything starts with you. You, in order to be like better designer, better team member, you need to be you, and then you can, deliver other things. And I know we've been never taught about this. We've never been taught to prioritize ourselves, but I promise you worth investing this time and it will have a huge impact on your career when you know when to start, but also you know when to stop. I wish I would be one of those people who can take things more easily, more lightweight, but I was always on this like more sensitive, nervous side. For me, learning the steps and stages is crucial in order to be like a better professional. Because again, we're here for the long game, not for the short game, and then, a big pause without bringing anything to the community, to the people, to the design. Thank you so much for spending this time with me and having this conversation about these important topics. And I definitely hope that we will connect at LinkedIn and ADP List. My name is Yulia Kucherenko. Also, if you like this video, you can always support me at Buy Me a Coffee. It's not necessary, so please don't feel obligated to. But I all wish you just the greatest, taking care of yourself, and taking care of yourself will also take care of your career, relationships, etc., because everything starts from you.